Welcome to Navigating Consumer and Family Law Challenges. Insights from SoCal's trusted attorneys.
Hello and welcome to Navigating Consumer and Family Law Challenges, insights from SoCal's trusted attorneys with Sara Khosroabadi, with a focus on family law, consumer protection, and employment law. Their firm offers helpful, caring, and professional legal services and advice. I am your host, Kevin Rosenquist, and today's episode is From Fraud to Freedom: How Consumer Law Can Help You Recover from Identity Theft. Sara, welcome back. Great to see you.
Hey, Kevin, good to see you too. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. So to start, can you give us an overview of the consumer law portion of what your practice does?
Yeah, so consumer law, encompasses a lot. I get a lot of calls often saying, can you do this or can you do that? And we're pretty niche. So the areas that we work with are, for instance, the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, the Fair Credit Reporting Act, and the Fair Credit Billing Act. So it's all about pretty much your credit reports, debt collectors and harassing companies, and then also credit cards in general and banking. So what we do is we deal with a lot of consumers that come to us saying either my identity has been stolen and the bank is harassing me and they're telling me that I owe money, or it's popped up on my credit report and now I can't buy the home that I wanted to or the car that I wanted to. Or they call me and they say, you know what? I purchased something and I never got it, and I disputed it with my credit card company and they never gave me my money back. And that's something I can help them with too.
Oh, see, I've never had a problem with that, knock on wood. Like if I've gotten my card compromised, they're always like, no problem, we'll take care of it.
It definitely depends on which bank you're with. I have better chances with certain credit card companies than others, for sure.
Back in the day, I worked for a background check company, and I had to know the Fair Credit Reporting Act very well. That was definitely part of my life. So when just hearing you say that, it was like, oh, memories of that interesting time.
Bring back good memories, hopefully.
Yeah, it was fine. It was it's a lot of studying, keeping up with it, and all that, and keeping up with the industry and all that. It was a lot of work, but it was very interesting, very different from what I'm used to. It seems the need for consumer law attorneys is growing. What would you attribute that to?
With the growth in us utilizing computers, with us utilizing the internet, back in the day, you'd go to the bank and you'd have a friendly teller across the way and you would do a person-to-person transaction. So there wasn't a lot getting in the way of other people getting your information and or problems happening. Nowadays, you've got, either a call center that's maybe not located in the US, or you have a very distant relationship with the banks now, which makes it a lot harder. And on my side, we're seeing identity theft as one of the biggest issues. There's a lot of data breaches out there. I just got a letter in the mail from Ticketmaster a couple months ago saying your data has been compromised. And I can't imagine how many millions of people are probably getting that same letter. So with just the use of technology now, it's just so much easier for people to take advantage of and mishandle a lot of our private information that leads to these consumer issues.
Yeah, let's talk some more about identity theft. It's so terrifying. Every story I've ever heard about it, whether it's the news or someone I know, it's just it's so difficult to come out on the other side without problems. What do you see as the biggest form of identity theft, and how do you see it kind of, do you see it as being as big of a problem as my fears would lead you to lead someone to believe?
It can be. We can definitely talk about how you can protect yourself. But yeah, I agree with you. It can be a little daunting, especially if you don't know what to do. There are several different types of concerns with identity theft. For instance, it could be somebody who's, during the pandemic, a lot of people were getting letters from the state saying you used unemployment funds that they never received.
I got one.
Yeah, exactly. Or the DMV contacts you and says, hey, you got a new license or, new address change. IRS can come after you for tax concerns as well if somebody's using your social security and your information for employment. Those instances are not something that I handle. So in the consumer realm, I mostly deal with the banks. And so it's a little bit more daunting to work on those issues. But there are great resources out there for people who are dealing with those concerns. It's just probably not going to be a consumer protection attorney. But on our end, there are definitely ways that you can protect yourself, and some of the things that are important for consumers are taking a look at that credit report, like on a monthly basis. Right now,
Mhm.
ever since COVID, I think you can actually pull your credit report every week instead of once a year, and
Oh,
you can keep up with the credit reports, and that's really important for people to look at.
yeah, I did not know that. That is really good. Because yeah, I definitely got one of those letters you were talking about. What exactly is considered identity theft? Are there other types of identity theft other than what we've talked about?
Great question. So I've dealt with identity theft from the credit card standpoint, where somebody takes your information, opens up a completely new credit card with your social security and a different address, and they've used that card. They never make the payments. I've dealt with credit card or identity theft where someone has actually taken information from your ATM and has pulled money out of either your ATM, out of the ATM for your bank, or has used your ATM debit card to pull money out of your bank. And then I've also dealt with issues where somebody has gotten like a loan or a different kind of an account with your name. So there definitely are different kinds of identity theft issues when it comes to the consumer side.
I remember for a while there, gas stations were a big one because they would put some sort of like reader inside, and gas stations typically, at least ones around me, don't take the chip card or don't do the chip card thing. Is that still something you see a lot of?
We still see a lot of, I can't say to the technical reasons why it happens, but we still do see a lot of instances where people do get information with regards to the ATM cards. I think something that we definitely need to be careful of is putting our information into specific, like, you go on Amazon and you've got your information saved on that website. If Amazon gets hacked or if that information gets leaked, then they have all of that information that you've uploaded to use that credit card.
Right.
So it's not as difficult anymore. It's not as difficult as like scouting out a gas station to see if they can get that information from you. It's as easy as hacking an account and getting that from the companies themselves.
In your experience with the cases you handle, how does identity theft typically occur?
It can occur in two different ways. So one is a familial relationship. So you have a family member, an ex-girlfriend, an ex-wife, ex-husband, or even I've had fathers and mothers do it as well, where they take the information and then they open up those credit cards, they get those loans without that person knowing. And even that is something we definitely can help with. The other type that we've seen is just a complete stranger. You have no idea who this person is. You have no idea who it could be. There's an address in Florida and you live in California. They somehow got your information off the black market and are now using your information to take that money.
What are some of the most common signs that someone's personal information has been compromised or used fraudulently?
So I recently had a client who received a letter from one of her credit card companies. She received a letter saying, "Hey, we have your address change and we're putting that in our system, but we just wanted to send this letter out to make sure that it actually was you." So that was somehow she figured out that she was now a victim of identity theft, contacted all of the credit card companies and said, "Hey, I got this really weird letter saying that there's an address in Florida and I don't live in Florida, never lived in Florida." So that was one way she found out about it. Another way that typically happens for me is, somebody will go try to get a car and then they'll pull their credit score, and their credit score is a lot lower than what it should be, what they think it should be. And it's because something's on their credit report that hasn't been paid. So then they'll go back, they'll pull their credit report, or they contact me and say, "I don't know what to do." And I'll have them pull their credit report and take a look at it. And then lo and behold, there's an account that they don't recognize, or oftentimes multiple accounts that they don't recognize on their credit report. And what the fraudsters are doing is they're really smart. They take out 5 accounts at a time and they charge as much as they can, do whatever they can, out or much damage that they can do in a short period of time in order to capitalize on that.
Yeah. Are we just too cavalier with our data? I mean, we are, right?
We are.
Yeah.
A lot of people save their passwords. A lot of people use the same passwords for everything. It definitely can get very tricky when we're dealing with so much information online, and everyone follows us. There's no way to know if you're being hacked. I know you've probably seen those websites where it says your information's not safe, and there's no real way for just the general population to know how to protect themselves when it comes to cybersecurity issues.
What are the first steps a consumer should take if they suspect that they've fallen victim to identity theft?
Yeah, so they definitely can reach out to a consumer protection attorney like me. We don't charge for those things. It is important to make sure that they are working with somebody who doesn't charge for that. And I can explain a little bit about that. But it's important to look at your credit report, make sure that everything on that credit report is accurate. It's your account, you recognize it. There's also a portion on your credit report down at the bottom that says hard inquiries and soft inquiries. The hard inquiries is what you want to look at to see if somebody else has tried to pull a credit card or tried to pull your information to get a credit card. That the soft inquiries are just the ones that they're trying to give you promotional information for. But the hard inquiries is something you definitely want to look at. And then as far as the credit reports are concerned, there's a lot of companies out there that will pay to take the information off of your credit report. So you pay them, they do what they need to do to take the information off of your credit report. I don't necessarily love those companies. It's something that you can do easily yourself. It's something that we help consumers out with all the time for free. You just have to send a letter to the bureaus saying this information's inaccurate. Here's my evidence that this information's inaccurate. They have to do an investigation within 30 days and come back and say either, yeah, you're right, it's inaccurate, we're going to take it off, or we're going to fix it. Or they have to essentially tell you that they're not going to take it off. And then that's when you can reach out to an attorney to file the lawsuit.
Okay, got it. And how do you help once someone comes to you and says, hey, my identity was stolen? What do you do and what legal options are available?
Yeah, there's a few different things that I can help with. So if identity has been stolen and they don't know who it is, they don't know what's going on, I typically tell my clients that they should file a police report within their local police department. Then also the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, they have actually an identity theft affidavit that you can fill out. You send that identity theft affidavit with the police report over to the bank that it has that fraudulent account open for you, and they have to do an investigation. And if they don't do that investigation, there's a statute here in California that allows us to file lawsuits against the banking institutes for not paying attention to identity theft. It's that big of an issue, and it's actually has statutory damages of up to $30,000 because it's so prevalent and is such an important topic.
Yeah, it's obviously, I asked the question if we're too cavalier with our data, and we all hit, agree, just because we want to play the game that we're trying to download. But it's becoming more of a problem, right? And is it just because do we just trust too much? Do we just say, oh, Apple, they've got my back, or Google's got my back?
It's hard to say. It's kind of that conundrum of, do I give my child the tablet or not? And there's always going to be those issues of am I behind the times or not? But I think definitely
quick point. We are pro tablet in this house. I don't know how we'd ever have a meal.
Pro tablet as well.
Not too much, just when we need it.
I gotcha. But it's difficult to say that we are too cavalier with our information. I think it's important for the companies to, we're trusting them to keep hold of our information and to make sure that they're compliant with the rules and the laws. And it's just, unfortunately, again, cyber attacks have become such a prevalent issue that there are ways that you can protect yourself. For instance, you can use a bank account that or an account that has limited funds in it to make payments on certain reoccurring things that you do, just to protect whatever asset you have in that account versus giving them carte blanche to your entire bank account. That's one thing you could do. The other thing that you could do is, on your credit report, there's an option for you to freeze your account. So you can always go in and freeze your accounts with the 3 different bureaus, Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion. And that makes it so that if anyone's trying to get a new account, the Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax won't allow that hard pull to happen. So that's a good way to protect yourself too, is just to make sure that you understand who is, getting in your information and how.
Is it easy to unfreeze? I mean, because that's an interesting idea. Because if you're like, we ain't buying anything for a while, you could just freeze it and then just got to remember to unfreeze it before you go try to buy a car.
Yeah, absolutely. It is easy to unfreeze. You can go onto the app and unfreeze it. You can give them a call to unfreeze it, and they'll unfreeze it right then and there for you. And then you can go back and put it on freeze again. So again, that's a nice way to protect yourself from people opening up new accounts. It
Mhm.
doesn't necessarily protect you from people who have taken your information and are using your credit card that was already opened.
Okay. Do you have a good story for us of one of the worst ones you've seen?
Oh gosh, I have so many. I think the worst one that I saw was I had a client who contacted me and said, I just got notification on from actually she had tried to get a Costco. She had a Costco card, Costco City card, and they had taken her credit limit from 60,000 to $1,000. And she panicked and called them and said, what happened here? Like, why did you get rid of all my credit limit? And she was told that there was something on her credit report. Her score came back and it was low. So she pulled her credit report, found out that there were two accounts with Chase Bank that were not hers. And the fraudsters managed to bill $130,000 worth of credit card debt on two different credit cards. And when we looked at the actual statements, and she had worked with Chase for months trying to get this fixed, and they just weren't not listening. And then we ended up looking at the statements, and what the fraudsters were doing, again, they're really smart. What they were doing was they were using the card, the $10,000 balance, and then paying that $10,000 balance off with a check. That check or whatever payment, that payment would bounce, and then they had that $10,000 to use. So they had that $10,000 plus an extra 10,000. They would spend the other 10,000. Once that check bounced, you now have a $20,000
Mhm.
debt on this credit card, and then they would pay the $20,000 off. And then it happened. It was like 10 months of them just doing that, and Chase just did not catch on to it for some reason. Finally, we're able to, we filed a lawsuit. We were able to resolve it, but it was a lot of heartache for her. And she was actually was a professional, knew what she was doing in life. I believe she was actually a real estate agent, and it definitely ruined, a lot of her credit and issues that she was having.
Wow. Well, she obviously had good credit before that because they were able to get two cards and run them up pretty high.
Yeah, she had great credit. I have another story, which was a little different, but I had a client who actually went out of the country for a month and was visiting family back in Europe, and came back to find out that somebody had used his ATM card and racked up about $7,000 in Uber, transactions, like food delivery transactions. And so he disputed it with the bank, and the bank came back and said, nope, it's yours. And so we're currently dealing with that issue right now. But he's like, I wasn't even in the United States for me to eat $1,000 worth of food a day.
Right. Seriously,
But
that's a lot of
yeah,
food.
it's a lot of food. It's a lot of food.
Oh my goodness. For anyone
Yeah.
listening, like what's your like best piece of advice for if they are concerned that they may have been, compromised, if their accounts and stuff. What would you tell them to do?
I think it's really important to take a look at your credit reports. Just
Yeah.
be mindful that it's not just the score. The score is great. The score fluctuates all the time, but you actually want to look at the credit reports themselves, and you want to get them from all three of the bureaus because they always change. None of them have the same information on them, even though they should. So you want to look at all three of the credit bureaus. And then if you are facing something like identity theft, I would reach out to an attorney who handles identity theft rather than trying to do it on your own, because there are steps you have to take and there is a certain time limit. Like the credit card issue I was telling you about with the client that was in Europe, you only have 60 days to dispute those. So they don't give you a lot of time. So you want to just reach out to an attorney as soon as possible and see if you can get the ball rolling with what needs to happen.
All right. Well, great advice. Interesting stories. Thank you for all of that. And thank you for joining us on Navigating Consumer and Family Law Challenges, Insights from SoCal's Trusted Attorneys with Sara Khosroabadi. To connect with their firm, you can visit kandhlawgroup.com. And please like and subscribe to our channel and leave us a review. Sara, always great to see you. Thanks so much for all the insight.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.